Pilgrim. Avoiding 10 by George Niziki, numéro 26, starting gate, designated player number 26, Larissa Franklin. Winning all this of numéro 15, starting 9, catcher number 15, Nicole Relay. Position flex also up on numéro 4 for the flex position, starting pitcher number 4, Sam Ryan. He substitute the alternates, numéro 2, number 2, Natalie Whiteman. Numéro 6, number 7, Madeline McKinnon. Numéro 8, number 8, Morgan Reimer. Numéro 10, number 10, Ruby Anderson. Numéro 12, number 12, Kristen Boyd. Numéro 17, number 17, Sarah Groenwegen. Numéro 18, number 18, Don Barbrun. Numéro 22, number 22, Randy Gray. Numéro 28, number 28, Nicola Simpson. Numéro 77, number 77, Grace Masker. Numéro 97, number 99, Morgan Rackle. Team Canada! Voici les résultats pour ce match de home team for this team, Team Japan. Along with it, let's go to what number 18, batting first, right fielder number 18, Kawamura Giza. Au deuxième rang, au troisième but, numéro 25, batting second, playing third base, number 25, Sumitani Haruka. Au troisième rang, sur le centre, numéro 7, batting third, center fielder, number 7, Harada Muruka. En quatrième, sur le gauche, numéro 17, batting fourth, left fielder, number 19, Tsukamoto Hotaru. Au cinquième, la joueuse désignée numéro 6, batting fifth, designated player number 6, Nakamizo Yui. Au sixième rang, jouant au premier but, numéro 17, batting 6, playing first base, number 17, Naito Minori. Avant le septième, receveur par les tours, numéro 16, batting 7, shortstop number 16, Kudo Kana. Au huitième rang, receveur numéro 14, batting 8, catcher number 14, Kirishi Inoue. Avant le neuvième, au deuxième but, numéro 4, batting 9, playing second base, number 15, Kawabata Inomi. Position flex, also numéro 23, in the flex position, pitching number 23, Miwa Sakura. The substitute, the alternates, numéro 13, number 13, Koto Miu. Numéro 21, number 21, Ueno Yukiko. Numéro 22, number 22, Katsumata Mizaki. Numéro 24, number 24, Agatsuma Haruka. Numéro 5, number 5, Ishikawa Kyoko. Numéro 26, number 26, Nakagawa Ayane. Team Japan. Les arbitres pour ce match, Clippers, je le sais, au mount à home plate, Warren Eklund. Au premier but à first base, Quentin Harvey. Au deuxième but à second base, Jonas Christensen. Au troisième but à third base, Adam McAloney. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez maintenant s'il vous plaît vous lever si vous en êtes capable de retirer chapeaux et casquettes pour l'interprétation des hymnes nationaux du Canada et du Japon. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand rise if you are able to remove your hats and caps for the national anthems of Canada and Japan. Best of luck to both teams. Have a great game. Bonne chance à deux équipes et bon match. This year's Canada Cup has a new addition in the outfield. The pride flag has been flying throughout the tournament, and while we have celebrated all week, it culminates in this evening's Bright Night festivities. The focus on diversity and inclusion comes as a result of a collaborative partnership between the event organizers, the Canadian Amateur Sports Society, and the Surrey Pride Society. This exciting partnership aims to promote diversity, inclusion, and acceptance within the sporting community, while also celebrating the spirit of the tournament and the unifying power of sport. Canada Cup brings together athletes from various backgrounds and communities to compete in a friendly and competitive environment. We recognize the importance of creating an inclusive and welcoming space where everyone feels valued and respected, regardless of their gender identity or sexual orientation. By partnering with the Surrey Pride Society, we aim to amplify the message of inclusion, ensuring that athletes, coaches, and civic leaders feel a sense of belonging and acceptance throughout the Canada Cup. The Canada Cup, in collaboration with the Surrey Pride Society, is an exceptional celebration of sport, diversity, inclusion, and we are thrilled you are all here to witness the remarkable unity that emerges when individuals come together through the love of the game.
Canada, Japan. Final game for both teams of the round robin, and the highlight matchup on the final day of the round robin. We still do have one important game left after this one, but on Pride Night, as we pay tribute in a sport that brings all genders, all sexual orientations together. Canada, a record of 5-1. Their only blemish, an 8-0 setback at the hands of Triple Crown Colorado. Japan, a perfect 6-0. They have outscored their opponents, the reigning Olympic gold medal champions, 52-2 here in Surrey, British Columbia. And these two countries collide for the first time since they met in a very important round-robin game at the Summer Olympics in Japan, and it was a dandy. Japan won the game 1-0 in 8 innings, and had Canada won that game, they would have played for the gold medal, not the bronze medal. Peter Loubardias alongside Italian longtime national team shortstop Amanda Fama. And Amanda, this has been all and more that we would have expected from one of two powerhouses in this sport as you get a look at our umpiring crew with Laura McMillan behind home plate.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting game, a well-anticipated game since they haven't met in a long time. And last time they did, it was a great game. Both rosters, especially Canada, with a bunch of changes to it with some newbies, but they've been hitting so well. I'm excited and looking forward to this game.
Well, the starting pitcher, if I was Spanish, I would start by saying, no bueno, no bueno. As we will have to wait another day for the all-time great Yukiko Ueno to hopefully pitch again at the Canada Cup. We don't have to wait for the talented Kelsey Harshman, who has torn the cover off the ball here. She has 10 hits, 3 more last night, 3 home runs, leads Canada in average runs batted in and hits, and dealing with the starter, Sakura Miwa, who has been the busiest of the 4-player pitching staff for Japan. She's pitched 12 2/3, given up 1 run, 9 hits, struck out 14, and walked no one. And this is a great way to start with Kelsey Harshman, Canada's premier hitter. And that is not a stretch to suggest. And she's shown it again this week. And Sakura Miwa missing 3 balls and 1 strike. These two teams did not play one another at the World Games last summer in Birmingham, Alabama.
And that's a missed opportunity for both teams. Harshman hitting so well.
And she rips another one. There's hit number 11. Excellent work in right field by Risa Kawamura to keep that.
Tracked down very well, saving an extra base. And I was just going to say Harshman has every reason to come in here confident as she's been hitting well. But when you play a team like Japan, it's really going to kind of put where you are in perspective. And it's not a fluke. Harshman's on fire. And like you've been saying, one of the best hitters in the world, let alone in this tournament. She does well leading off for Canada.
She batted .579 in this event last year with 12 runs batted in, 4 home runs, 11 for 19, and she might better those totals. And she has another hit, her 11th of the tournament for Canada.
I think we're going to see some smaller compact swings out of Canada with Miwa pitching. She's got that curveball that you can take to the other side.
Emma Ensminger finds a gap. Harshman's going to get the wave, the throw, and they threw her out. A perfectly executed relay.
She drives this ball deep. Again, just throws the bat where it needs to. Takes that outside ball to the right side. Great relay, of course, from the Japan team. Perfection.
You can't draw it up any better. As second base player, who tonight is Hitomi Kawabata, went out to cut it off and threw a strike, as Canada opted to wave Harshman with no one out. Why not be aggressive?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, you don't get a lot of scoring opportunities or base runners on when you face Japan, and so you get a ball driven into the gap like that, you take that chance. That's a great call from the third base coach.
So Canada, single and then the double off the bat of Emma Ensminger. And Janet Leung. She's had an excellent tournament. Had a bit of a rough night last night in Canada's win over Israel. In Canada's first 5 games, she could do nothing wrong. The 29-year-old veteran from Mississauga, Ontario, and swings and misses on the drop from Sakura Miwa.
And I actually was able to ask Janet a couple questions about how her tournament's been going, and she's having a blast, as she should be, but knows that she kind of has to zone in facing Japan here. And so you can already see her with that open stance, a little more and choked up on the bat. She's going to put this ball in play regardless, as she should, but that's a great athlete making adjustments. Again, she doesn't have her feet close together. She's already in that open stance, which is a little different for her.
9 for 19 by my count in the tournament is Janet Leung, and takes the rise high as the count runs even at 2-2. And Canada does not want to allow this early opportunity to go astray against a team that has only given up 2 runs in their first 6 games in total, and Leung stays alive on the changeup from Miwa. Janet batted 3 for 10, 300 in the World Games. She was 4 for 18 in the Olympic Games in the summer of 2021. Right at the shortstop, who's coming home, and now Ensminger is caught in a rundown. And Japan defensively the play was obviously go on contact.
And if we can see in this replay, if we see it again, Japan's offense moves absolutely perfect. It's almost like a video game. They go exactly where they need to go. First baseman gets behind home for backup as that pickle or that rundown starts to happen. The shortstop slides over. That was really incredible to see from my vantage point. Again, Canada being aggressive as they should be, but maybe too much right now.
So Zoe Hicks, in her first really major competition with the national senior women's team, she's from Boissevain, Manitoba, and has had a quality Canada Cup this week. As Canada threatens, they've hit the ball well. They have 2 hits, but now there are 2 out. Both these teams will wind up in the top 4. That is for certain. Japan would clinch for sure top spot with a win. Even a loss tonight for Japan that isn't of any kind of significance, because then we'd be involved in a 3-way tie where everyone would have knocked off everyone, meaning Japan, Triple Crown Colorado, and Canada, as Hicks goes around, tried to check her swing, but unable to. Hicks is 25 years of age and has been an excellent addition to this group. She's opened a lot of eyes, completed her college career at Louisiana Tech in 2021, and has played professionally in the Dutch League following that. Played for Canada in the 2017 World Junior Championship and would love to give Canada the lead in the top of the first. And just off the glove of starting catcher Yume Karishi. I believe Japan has only made 1 error in this event. Mentioned earlier, they've allowed just 2 runs.
And that error is a rare thing to see on a Japanese roster the way it is and in their stat book. Great pitch on that outside.
Sakura Miwa picks a perfect time to record her first strikeout. Canada threatens, but can't score. And Japan, a score of 52 runs, coming to bat in the bottom of the first in a sold-out house at the Canada Cup. fabulous crowd on a beautiful night where we will honor the Pride community, already have, and have all tournament long, and we'll also pay tribute a little later during the night with some presentations and speech for our indigenous population during this game. I do not remember the last time in a game I watched a team make the first 2 outs at home plate, and that is what Canada did in the top half of the first.
Mind you, against Japan, of all teams that don't even touch a ball in a whole game, get runners on. But to have a play at the plate twice in the first inning is proof we're going to see a good game here.
And an interesting decision by Reika Utsugi, who is the head coach of Japan. No Ayani Nakagawa in the lineup tonight. Normally the leadoff hitter, and she's had a brilliant week. Canada gives the start, and an important one, to Samantha Ryan. 21-year-old dual citizen from Monroe, New York, a pitcher at Chattanooga State Community College. She is on her way to Division I Louisiana to play for the Ragin' Cajuns and facing right fielder who started that incredible relay to gun down Harshman at home in the double by Ensminger, Risa Kawamura. Kawamura in the tournament, still looking for her first hit. She's 0 for 7. Hit hard off the glove of Harshman. And looks at Samantha Ryan and says, maybe that one's on me, but that was well hit.
That was well hit, and Harshman's done really well at second, especially with some bad hops. But unfortunately on that one, she just, I think, gets a little scared. So on her knees, pulls up a little bit, and that ball makes its way through to right field. And again, when you're playing Japan, you got to make those easier plays, even though every play is not easy. But this is a team that can capitalize on any type of mistake.
In fact, I would go one step farther. You have to make plays against Japan that normally you wouldn't make.
That's very true.
If you are going to find your way to beat this group.
And you see Harshman
and this'll help, but diving play for the out. And again,
the extra base.
And Japan, after a diving play.
The first base umpire should have a good look at this. Again, great play. Lays out. But we're not able to really see if she holds on to that ball.
Nicole Rivet, the starting catcher, made a brilliant play. I watched it closely. You just had a couple more looks at it. It was tough to tell. But Canada, and there's Japan one more time. As Kawamura saw an opportunity and now gets into scoring position without the sacrifice bunt.
Well, like you literally just said, the catcher made a phenomenal play. Nicole gave herself up for that play, making phenomenal plays like you just said, and somehow Japan still capitalizes on it. Knowing the game, knowing to be a step ahead of every single second, and advances into scoring position.
Here's the veteran playing in center. That's the other part about Japan this week, is the Canadian pitching coach on his way out to chat with Samantha Ryan. And will also probably reinforce exactly the plan. And Kaylee Rafter's coming out too. Well, it's been an interesting beginning tonight. Canada hits 2 balls with authority off starting pitcher Sakura Miwa. Makes the first 2 outs at home plate with a chance to jump out in front. and really give them some confidence.
And I think that talk was just getting on the same page with that pitch. She's got that band on her arm for calling pitches. Kind of get them on the same page. You don't want to cross up your catcher. And with Japan, with runners on, you don't want to be throwing the wrong pitch.
Nodoka Harada is 3 for 9, the Olympic gold medalist. Double, triple, home run, 4 runs batted in. She was 1 for 1 with a double last night against Triple Crown Colorado as she walks and the ball gets away. It'll be a pass ball on Nicole Rivet. Now, for those of you who might be tuning in for the first time, mentioned off the top that this is the first meeting between these two teams since the Olympics. What needs to be mentioned is the amount of turnover in the Canadian lineup since no Jen Salling, who's the team's first base and hitting coach. No catcher Kaylee Rafter, who is now the head coach. No Victoria Hayward, who is an amazing outfielder for Canada. And Daniel Laurie, Lauren Bay Regula, and Jenna Kyra, 3 huge components of Canada's pitching staff, no longer available. They look first and third, and a good snap throw by Rivet. There was an opportunity, Amanda, if that throw is a little tighter to the bag, to maybe end up with a huge second out.
Yeah, that's a missed opportunity. Again, you have to be perfect when playing Japan, and if that's a perfect throw, that's an out, and that's huge.
And this is a rocket that will bring in the first run of the game. And all Hotaru Tsukamoto does in this tournament is drive in runs. She has only 3 hits, but up to 7 runs batted in, as this is a laser through Emma Ensminger.
And again, watching that, her barrel is perfectly placed to drive that ball through the third baseman's legs. But good job by Janet sliding and kind of not letting that ball continue on, because we've already seen how aggressive this Japan running game is. And that's a hard play to defend.
Wee Nakamizo, as Japan strikes first in this important showdown to end the round robin. And they waste little time taking every possible base, and Canada not prepared, and nor probably should they be, to give up a run to get an out. They're too precious against this group to get. And there's already activity in the Canadian pen with University of Tennessee's Nicholas Simpson up and throwing.
And you can see Canada's defense is playing in, which is smart. We've only got 1 out, and they want to try and keep the runner at third, which is difficult when you've got speed and they hit it so hard. So they're in a good spot, and I like to see each of them encouraging the young pitcher as she's struggling a little bit. And that's hard when this team's been doing so well, but they need to get a ground ball and get a forced out here, and there we go.
Well, they get one, and now they have a Japanese runner caught in the rundown. And Japan with a rare running mistake. And from 31-year-old veteran Nodoka Harada. So some unexplainable things. And if you happen to watch some of Greece and Triple Crown Colorado, we had 3 hours worth of unexplainable things.
Ryan, the pitcher, was even surprised. I mean, she took a look at the runner like she should have and was getting ready to throw to first, and then the team yelled 4, and she was just as surprised as I think all of us were.
Well, a massive out for Canada, especially if they can limit this damage to 1. So the game already off to a very entertaining beginning between 5-1 Canada, 6-0, and reigning Asian and Olympic champion Japan.
Great pitch.
You would have to go back a long way for Canada's last victory in international competition against Japan. But what a run they gave them at the Olympics. That was a tremendous ball game. And Minori Naito, the wave, the throw, not in time. And veteran Minori Naito with a 2-run single. And Japan, who avoided a Canadian threat in the top of the first, strike for 3 here in the bottom half. And this woman playing over at short, we've seen her at second, been the designated player, is the dangerous Kana Kudo. Kudo, 8 for 17, batting .471, 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in already. She has 3 multi-hit games and was a massive part of a somewhat stunning 7-0 5-inning victory over Triple Crown Colorado in a showdown of unbeatens last night. She was 2 for 3 and had a 3-run homer that broke that game wide open.
And what I love about Kudo when she hits, it's so simple. It's just out to contact. She doesn't even really rotate her hips sometimes and kind of flares open. Sometimes, and most of the time she hits the ball well, but lucky for Canada, she rolls over and gets an out.
So a first inning that produced no shortage of action, but in the end it produced 3 Japanese runs, and they have Canada in a hole after 1 in the final round-robin game for both at the Canada Cup. Canada had Japan in trouble in the top of the first. But 2 players were called out at home plate, and Japan came right back and took full advantage, even though they made a running mistake, in a 3-run bottom of the first inning. Is Japan looking to continue perfect? Have now outscored their opponents here in Surrey 55-2.
And it's not often that we see running errors, but speaking from experience, when you know you're facing a top team, whether it's Japan facing Canada, who's been hitting so well, or Canada facing Japan, there's not a lot of errors, and they happen under pressure because you know you're facing a good team and you got to push the limit sometimes. And there are errors because they're just the limits push too much sometimes.
Canada could have not asked for a better start outside of being unable to take advantage. But they didn't. And credit Japan, who made an incredible relay throw right field to second to home to just tag out Kelsey Harshman, who tried to score all the way from first on Emma Ensminger's double. Erica Polidori is the leadoff batter and facing 2 strikes. She has 3 hits in her last couple of games. A weak ground ball that Miwa scoops and delivers quickly over to first. This Japanese staff, in terms of their 4 pitchers, is really, along with their defense, what separates them from the competition in many ways. Although, they've also scored 55 times, so it's not like they can't deliver. They are like machines in every aspect. And it's the way they practice.
You hear that saying, practice makes perfect, and over, and you roll your eyes. But Japan's picture and all their medals should be next to that saying in a dictionary.
It really should. That's very well said. Well, they did lose the final of the World Games last year to the United States. And now Miwa looks to settle in. And she strikes out one of Canada's top hitters this week in 21-year-old Surrey product, Kiana Jones.
With a great pitch. Again, it looks like it's a drop or a drop curve that, again, it's not in the strike zone, but it's deceiving for the batter in their eyes, and you think it's going to be a ball that you can take to the right side, and it ends up being a couple inches off the ground. That's a great pitch for a strikeout.
On the topic of marvelous weeks, and this time she gets hit with a pitch, Callum Pilgrim has 10 hits in the tournament. She's homered twice. She is from nearby Abbotsford. And Canada with a runner as Pilgrim aboard, hit by the Miwa pitch. And Larissa Franklin, who suffered a bit of an ankle injury in a 4-game exhibition series in Nashville against the Women's Professional League's Florida Vibe. Prior to this is the designated player, and she has her first hit. Returned for a pinch hit last night in Canada's win over Israel, and Canada in business again with a couple of out.
Keeps it super simple. Again, you're not going to overpower Japan. If you can get the bat, the barrel out at the right angle, you're going to find a hole and get runners on, get yourself on, move runners over, and that's exactly what she did. Great job with her coming back and being a leader here in this game versus Japan.
She's from Maple Ridge, an Olympic bronze medalist. Canada won their first ever Olympic softball medal in Japan 2 summers ago. And Larissa Franklin was a big part of it. And the fact that she is not at 100% takes away more of a weapon for Canada without Victoria Hayward, who opted this year not to play. Is it maybe a situation where it's over for her with Team Canada, although she is playing in Athletes Unlimited and has just accepted a pretty important coaching job at the University of Washington. Nicole Rive, a squibber, and the inning comes to an end. So Canada continues to find ways on base. They've been unable to cross home plate. It's 3-0 Japan after an inning and a half on a beautiful night to end the round-robin portion of the Canada Cup. I'm going to ask you about maybe pitching decisions for both teams tonight. This has always been a prestigious, world-class event, the Canada Cup. But for both these teams, Amanda, as we look at the marvelous crowd that is assembled here on this beautiful Friday night, it is also a precursor for these two teams who will participate starting July 22nd in Italy in a World Cup stage qualifier. And I wonder, do you think it's maybe had an impact on the pitching decisions for both head coaches?
Absolutely. I know we were up here trying to figure out who would be pitching, who we want to see. But I think the coaching staff is going to go with those pitchers that we're seeing here with Sam Ryan and Miwa, because not that this tournament isn't important, but the tournament in a couple weeks is the one that they need to really be on point. So talking with the Canada players a little bit, they have a lot of the younger girls that don't have a lot of international experience. And so you're going to the World Cup qualifier soon. Let's put Sam Ryan in against Japan, where she's probably pretty nervous, and get that experience in now, get the nerves out now. So when it really counts, she'll be able to, kind of not have the jitters.
Well, I'm not going to make a true assessment until the weekend when the playoffs begin and see how the coaches roll the dice.
And not that this game doesn't matter. It absolutely does in every way. But we know we're going to see these two teams later on in 1 through 4 spot regardless. So I don't want to say they can take a chance here. You want to win every game, but again, it's a tough decision.
But if you're Canada, when I think about Kaylee Rafter and her decision is Yumi Karishi will fly out to Erica Polidori to start the bottom of the second against the starting pitcher again tonight in 21-year-old Samantha Ryan, is when Team Greece failed to knock off Triple Crown Colorado, then Canada, because of losing by 8 runs, yes, a win tonight over Japan would create a 3-way tie, but you're probably not going to have a large enough run differential. And Japan, they also mercy ruled, is a popular term, Triple Crown Colorado. Mm-hmm. So in a 3-way tie where everyone would beat everybody, Japan, unless Canada blew their doors off, was going to be in position to finish first and leave you playing Triple Crown Colorado in the 2-3 winners bracket game tomorrow, which is, I believe, the game that will be slated for 1 o'clock. And a 1-out base hit for second base player Hitomi Kawabata. And Hitomi really set the stage for how this game has started with a great relay throw. This could be 2. Harshman, not quite in time. Good exchange, though, between Janet Leung and Kelsey Harshman, and they have lots of chemistry. They've been working together in that combo for a long time.
And that's a great point that you brought up. The chemistry between them is great, and we've seen that here. This is a routine kind of double play with the 60 feet bases, and you have Japan runners. It's not often you're going to get a double play, but to be able to read your other middle infielder is huge in making double plays. And they turn that well just with Japan. They're too quick.
And Samantha Ryan seems like she's settled in.
You can see Harshman over at second is shifted over a little bit towards second, whether that's a scouting report that they go up the middle or giving Janet Leung a little bit of leeway to make a great play or get a ball in the hole at short, and Harshman can take the steal.
And a good pitch from Samantha Ryan in her second consecutive Canada Cup for the senior women's national team. She's just 21, so has a bright future in front of her. transferring this fall to a Division I program, and a good one. A program that made its way into a super regional, Louisiana University, this past spring, and facing BIC Cameras. That's the pro team Haruka Sumatani plays for. Sumatani's had who in this lineup hasn't had a good tournament? Some much better, however, than others. Sumatani, 6 for 13 coming into the night. Drives. Callum Pilgrim back deep. And Pilgrim's fine tournament continues as she takes an extra base hit away from Haruka Sumatani. And it remains 3-0 Japan after 2. From the drone, a softball site for, well, happy eyes. The phrase is sore eyes. Isn't that awesome? Great crowd here tonight. That drone has ended up in a lot of unique places this week. And Canada trailing 3-0. They've only been out-hit, Amanda, 4-3. This has been one team being incredibly opportunistic, and the other team hasn't been able to quite match it. But it's a lot more even so far tonight than the 3-0 Japanese lead would indicate.
Yeah, both innings, Canada has had runners on and in scoring positions. It's unexpected to see that, but again, a lot closer game than the 3-0 we see on the scoreboard.
Well, Kelsey Harshman leads things off. She has 11 hits for Canada in the tournament. Started the game with a sharp single that was cut off by Kawamura. Could have gone for extra bases. Now 11 for 21 in the tournament is Kelsey Harshman. She had a hit in the meeting of these two teams the last time, which was in the 1-0 8-inning Japanese win at the Olympic Games. she got Canada off to a very exciting start. Ensminger followed with a double, but Harshman on a great Japanese relay from right field to second to home, threw out. Kelsey Harshman trying to score from first. And then Ensminger attempted to score right thereafter on a ground ball to shortstop Kanakudo. And a changeup from Sakura Miwa, who's given up 3 hits.
And that's a good take from Harshman. With a 2-1 count, a changeup looks, it's a ball you want to hit other than something that's going to spin or break. But that's a good job with her taking it.
Well, this count in her favor, and she does it again. 2 for 2. 12th hit of the Canada Cup. And I have referred to her all week as a professional hitter.
And she hits it where it's pitched. And that's on a scouting report a lot, and it's very simple, it sounds like, but it's very difficult, especially when you have Japanese pitchers spinning the ball so well. But she takes that outside ball to the 5-6 hole, again, gets herself on.
Congratulations to the Harris family, who are paid tribute to, sitting right down in front of us. Dave and his wife. This tournament would not be what it is today without them and their incredible contributions. So thank you so much to both of them. Emma Ensminger doubled to the fence in right center. Her first time up, and she's in exactly the same scenario in the third with Harshman aboard on a leadoff single. The 4th hit given up by Sakura Miwa.
And Peter, we can see the Japanese middle infield pinched a little bit towards second. And they keep looking at each other like they're ready to turn this double play and kind of get the momentum on their side. And another dangerous aspect about the Japanese defense is if you put the ball in play and the infield on the ground, they're going to get a double play out of it.
Miwa plays for Toyota in the Japanese Professional League. On the ground, it rolls up the sleeve of Kawabata. And a rare Japanese air. And I will say this. I don't know what is the story on this infield, but we've seen more interesting hops in that second base area than anywhere else on the diamond.
I'm making my way down there after this game. There's been a ton of bad bounces there. And you can see the second baseman, if we get to watch that game or watch that play again, she sets her feet up so well. I do think that's something about the ground. Bobbled that. But lucky break for Canada.
Janet Leung, this is going to fall in as Harada stumbled and fell almost. And Canada with the bases loaded here in the top of the third as Janet Leung has her 10th hit of the Canada Cup.
Yeah, well, looks like she slips, fumbles a little bit. Couple unexpected things from Japan here. This is
Katsumata warming up. Masaki, who's pitched 9 innings, given up 1 run. Japan's 2 star pitchers are obviously the greatest in their country's history and one of the all-time greats, period, in women's fast-pitch softball. Yukiko Ueno and 22-year-old Miyu Gatu, who shut out Triple Crown Colorado last night. The bases are loaded for Canada, for Zoe Hicks. Change up, hit it hard. They'll come home for 1, might get 2, and did.
That's a good play.
So after the air, Kawabata comes home, and Yume Karishi throws a strike.
And we saw that second baseman make an error a couple pitches before that. She's not going to do that again. Gets her leg down for some extra protection there. Again, throws that beam to first, or throws that beam to home, where the catcher's able to throw strike to first and double them up.
Now there are 2 away for Polidori. Well, the Japanese defense. 3rd time in the game a Canadian has made an out at home plate. You'd have to go back a ways, I guarantee you, to find that happen too many times.
Well, Canada's putting the pressure on, and even though this is Japan and we keep talking them up, it's Japan. They are human. They are athletes. We see them make errors. But Canada keeps pushing and keeps pushing. And I think Canada is going to get one through eventually.
Polidori didn't like that call. Took a peek back at home plate umpire Laura McMillan. The umpires have done, by and large, an excellent job this week. 2 balls and a strike to the 31-year-old from Brantford. A changeup, and it will make its way back to the screen. And if nothing else, going into the playoff round, even if Canada cannot claw back, this you would think should give them some confidence.
Absolutely. Again, Japan's making errors, but it's not just one. Canada is still putting themselves in great positions, and it's not just a one-time thing and they lost their chance. They've got some momentum. Even if they lose this game, they're doing well and give them a little bit of confidence into the playoff round.
Well, they couldn't finish any higher, really, than second at very least, even with a win tonight. And still would mean a date with Triple Crown Colorado regardless. And
right, that 2-3 spot either way, it doesn't matter. Whether you're second or third.
Well, they would have had to come out and mercy rule Japan to change that equation.
That's easy.
And if that happens, then I get to go home because then you've seen what you require to see. I am so excited about the playoffs this weekend. Does someone have an answer for this powerhouse nation? I do know this. Canada has put them under the most pressure that we've seen by a considerable margin. Polidori, and again, probably coming right to us. Not quite. Good at-bat for Erica Polidori.
Yep. I was just going to say she's keeping herself in this game. Again, if she can kind of stay composed, stay short, and just make contact, she could get a run across the board here for Canada. Peter, I'd like to see it.
Change up again. A high pop-up. Sumatani calls off Kudo.
A little too antsy there.
Sakura Miwa has a little Harry Houdini going on tonight. Gotten herself out of a lot of jams. 3-0 Japan going to the bottom of the third on the final night of the round robin at the 2023 Canada Cup.
We would like to welcome Team BCU 16 and U19, female and male, and all indigenous softball teams. Teams will be competing in the 2023 North American and
That,
games next week in Alabama.
she sat really well on that. I thought that was going to get through.
5,000 athletes.
Didn't get on top of it.
Staff from over 756 indigenous nations. U16 teams, please rise and wave so we can wish you the best of luck.
Watch him throw Wayno in there for like 2 innings just to make a point.
Good.
You're like, good, yes, do it.
Well, please give me her against probably Triple Crown tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So I think tomorrow for me, it's going to be 2, a break, 2,
Wait, what do you mean?
in terms of the games that I do.
Oh.
Can't not do 1 versus 4 and 2
Oh.
versus 3.
Right.
We'll talk about that later.
Jeu de centre numéro 7, the center fielder number 7, Harada Nodoka.
Samantha Ryan remains in the game, given up 4 hits and 3 runs. Canada has committed no errors, and this has truly been what do you do with your opportunities? Because Canada has had equally as many as the Japanese, but have not been able to cash in.
Right. Can you have timely hittings? We see Canada starting off their leadoff hitters getting runners on first and second. But now it's going to see if you can get timely hittings against one of the best in the world. And same with Japan even. Getting runners on. It is 3-0, but this isn't, I think I can say that this isn't the Japan team we're used to seeing. They're even a little off, missing their opportunities.
Well, they certainly haven't missed executing defensively when they've been under the gun. A great relay to get Harshman. And then with the bases loaded and no one out, is Harada on the ground to Leung. Nice hands. And there is one retired. In the last inning, Canada, or in this one, the last half inning, Canada loaded the bases, no one out, before Zoe Hicks hit into a 4-2-3 double play. So Canada has made 3 of their 9 outs at home plate. Left fielder Hoturo Tsukamoto has 3 hits, and she's driven in 7 runs, including a grand slam homer earlier this week, as Samantha Ryan has settled in quite nicely after a bit of a rough first, and nerves would have a lot to do with that. Amanda, we've talked about it a lot this week and spending a ton of time together to and from the park, at the park. I've always felt when you play this team or the United States national team, I would guess that you almost are mentally potentially down early. Maybe not so much when I go back to 2 summers ago, because that is the first time in my lifetime of watching international softball that I actually thought Canada, for the first time, had everything gone right, had a chance to win the gold medal. I never felt like they were in that class before. They'll try and steal a base. Rive to Harshman. And Tsukamoto stealing second, and she's 2 for 2 in the game.
But yeah, your nerves, Peter, they're always there. And I think kind of the approach possibly that the Canada staff took here is putting a younger pitcher in, because when you've played a team several times, if you're on your national team for a couple years, those nerves do tend to fade away. You have a crowd right now. This is an amazing crowd. That's going to get you going. The lights are going to get you going. The atmosphere is going to get you going. But kind of how you handle it is really important. And I've been able to do that over the last couple years. Understand how to take the pressure of facing Japan or even USA when you're playing in Alabama and it's a home game for them. How you handle your nerves prior to getting on the field or before your pitch or before your hit is huge. And the only way, I've been preaching about it this week, is the only way to do that is through experience. And whether it's repetitive or not, you always have to be able to learn, especially that mental side, because we know your nerves can get to you. And so being able to handle that so you can really perform to your greatest is super important.
Well, you brought up an amazing point. Yes, it is Japan. But I don't think sometimes for young athletes, we think about the pressure of actually playing at home. It isn't always an advantage. I found that, even in professional sports where, even in the sport of hockey in the NHL playoffs, I don't feel like it's anywhere near as big an advantage to be at home. There's distractions. There's family around. There's a lot of BC area players with family, and that's awesome, but it brings with it a little extra.
Absolutely. Like I think you said, for the younger girls, and maybe this is their first Canada Cup, whatnot, their friends are here, their families are here. To add to it, you're playing Japan on a beautiful night with a packed house. That's going to bring nerves. And if you're playing at a little park, maybe in Seattle or Florida, you don't have that. People don't really know you there. There's not a lot of pressure, only the pressure of Japan. And so I think playing at home is a huge factor in nerves.
Nakamizo, Kiana Jones. Marvelous catch. Diving in right to Rob Wee Nakamizo with one of the defensive plays of this Canada Cup.
That's a great catch. Again, laying out, putting it all on the line. Now is your time to try it out. That's a great job.
Surrey's own Kiana Jones with robbery of Wee Nakamizo to record the second out.
I'll tell you though, when you're at home and you make a play like that, and the crowd has the response they did, that's gonna get your blood pumping in a good way.
Well, the changeup gets away from Nicole Rive, and a free base for Hoturo Tsukamoto, who is 2 for 2 and has scored a run and driven one in tonight. Minori Naito, the batter, should be playable for Pilgrim and is. So, borderline miraculous catch by Kiana Jones helped save the day for Canada in the bottom of the third. And yes, these are the nights, if you love sports, that do get your blood pumping. It's what it's all about. And a full house to watch it to boot from the Canada Cup.
Is that her? Do you have a better Chattanooga State, right? Yeah. Not the best picture, but that's her. Crap. That's her. No. No. That's a good one. I want to find someone to make fun of.
James Celesta, Ring Celesta Camille, Braden Fowler, Colby Fulton, Aiden Hagelham, Joel Henry, Bruce Jackson, Colby Jeffries, Lakota Julian, Jade Martin, Casey Miller, Hunter Potskin, and Garner Ransom. Best of luck and safe travels.
I'm so surprised by this because what happens is playing with Team Italy, we've held our own for 5 innings even with them. And then once they come alive or they make one error, they turn around and just kind of shove it to you. So to see this performance from Japan is really something I think is rare that I haven't seen before from them.
But the oddity is, in every crucial situation, so they've got themselves in a lot of hot water, but usually can turn the tap off. Second straight inning, Canada's loaded the bases here tonight with no one out.
And I want to make it a point, too, that Japan is struggling here. We're seeing that. But Canada is doing a really, really good job. So it's not, hey, this team is doing well because Japan is not. It's just Canada is really taking it to them in a really positive way. They're doing great. And if they keep this up, they're going to be able to poke a run across the board. And this could be the inning.
And Kelsey Harshman due up next.
Japan defense, Peter, is back a little bit. Maybe trying to play a double play ball. You see them with runners on third, even bases loaded. They're more in front of that baseline. So I think they're trying to stay back and get an out at any base and maybe let that run come in.
Well, at 3-0, you have that ability. And they're not going to need it. A terrific changeup for Sakura Miwa. And that is Miwa's third strikeout of the game. And here might be the game in a nutshell. 2-2, 12 hits in the tournament is Delta British Columbia's Kelsey Harshman. No one else you'd rather have up.
Absolutely, and there's a little hole in that 3-4 pocket. But Harshman's been able to put it all over the place.
They work inside. I wouldn't be surprised, knowing the Japanese, if she almost gets an unintentional intentional walk. I am giving her nothing to hit right here.
I go at her here. I make her prove herself. She has many times. Or they're trying to make her chase. You're right. But she can put the ball deep. And with less than 2 outs and bases loaded, that's going to score a run. I like to push people, but sometimes that's not the best idea. And I like to see people do well and prove me wrong. Oh,
and she sat on that changeup.
She wants it.
Take a look at how shallow
the
Japanese outfield is right now.
They do have amazing drop steps. That first step in the outfield is crucial, can make or break a play. We see that done really well with Hayward and other Canadian outfielders, but they are very shallow.
They have given her nothing to hit for the most part. The changeup, but it was up. So 3 balls and a strike, and let's see what kind of 3-1 pitch. Kelsey Harshman, 2 for 2 already in the game, 12 for 22 by my count in the tournament.
And if she takes, because she thinks they're going to maybe throw her a waste pitch, and that's a good take. You don't want to be too eager to score these runs. This is a tough situation. 1
out. Bases loaded in a 3-0 game, final game of the round robin for these two teams, and it has been dynamite. Harshman high in the air. Is it deep enough? It's deep enough to get home a run. And Canada's on the board, and Kelsey Harshman just missed, giving Canada a 4-3 lead.
Yep, this ball comes down a little bit, breaks down a little bit. She gets just under it a little bit, but still scores in a run. So that's a quality at bat. She's still on fire. She's still hitting the ball well. Great at bat by Harshman.
Emma Ensminger has doubled, reached on an error, 1 of 2 by second base player Hitomi Kawabata. As Sakura Miwa pulls the string again. This is fantastic international women's softball in front of a sellout here at Softball City, and no one's disappointed. Ground ball back. Canada does score. They load the bases again, but strand two more runners. It's 3-1 Japan going to the bottom of the fourth. Hope you're enjoying this half as much as we are. This is exactly what the women's game can provide. It has been highly entertaining. It's had a little of everything. Canada's out-hit Japan 7-5. They've left 8 runners on base in this game and trail 3-1. And the new pitcher is Nicola Simpson, coming off her first year at the University of Tennessee. Has made 1 appearance, and it was a good appearance. It came last night against Israel. Facing Kanakudo. 10 runs batted in the tournament for the impressive 24-year-old, or soon-to-be 24-year-old, shortstop tonight. Utsugi does a lot of different things combination-wise with her infield and her outfield. I'm not sure you would have more to share in regards to if that is something that's fairly regular. I certainly haven't noticed that, but again, when do I get to watch Japan?
Every time I've played Japan, it is a pretty set infield. We play them throughout the last couple of years, and it was pretty set. Fluctuating people in, of course, when the score gets up there a little. But it's pretty set. And, again, playing them in moments where they were big games, qualifiers, the Olympics, you kind of have your number ones out there.
On one bounce to newcomer Zoe Hicks, who makes the play, and Nicola Simpson with a good beginning. Credit Samantha Ryan. After a tough first, she really dug in Nicholas Simpson is a 20-year-old from Seattle. Dual citizen. Pitched here last year at the Canada Cup. 7 1/3 innings. Been used once so far this year. Did not throw a lot of innings, just 16 during her collegiate series for a very strong pitching staff. In fact, they could have a reunion here. The Tennessee pitching staff. Peyton Gottschall is here. Carlin Pickens is here. Nicholas Simpson is here. Facing catcher Yume Karishi. And rifles that. Didn't even phase her coach. She didn't even, what's this all about? Didn't even blink over there. She's used to it. Karishi flew out Derek Apollodori, who's no longer in left for Canada. There has been a change in left as 22-year-old dual citizen, or certainly with roots to both, Riley Crane, who hails from Tucson, Arizona. And she has had some nice moments so far this week. Another young Canadian player that they have high hopes for.
And I think that's kind of what Canada is leading towards in this tournament. Again, talking to Janet a little bit before the game, they're really trying to get the younger girls a taste of this international play and kind of the standards, as Janet said, that Canada holds as a softball program. And that's important because this is a bronze medal team, an Olympic bronze medal team, and there are standards. And so Janet's been leading by example, and then you have the young pitchers come in and get a little more experience.
Well, Hitomi Kawabata, a couple of errors tonight. A great relay throw that cut off Canada's ability and the first two batters of the game to jump out in front. She has delivered at the plate. So she has had and now hit by what the Australian team. Here comes Jones again, and
great effort.
Well, call your Maytag repairman. Nothing like a little dirt for the front of the uniform. What an outstanding catch. That catch, if Canada again claws its way back off Wee Nakamiso in the last inning.
And I like that. I like that she's making that. What a great at bat here, but also for the youngster in the mound. A great battle going on here.
Nicholas Simpson's, I would suggest, best international outing came last year at the World Games against Italy, where she pitched 5 1/3. Ensminger in time. In that game, she pitched 5 1/3 against Italy, did not give up a run, and only 2 hits. She pitched in 4 games as then a 19-year-old for Canada at the World Games, and she comes in and retires the first 2 Japanese hitters that she's faced. And at the plate is the aforementioned second base player, Hitomi Kawabata. 1 for 1 in the game is Kawabata. In the tournament, now 7 for 14. Batting .500 with a home run and 6 runs batted in. Simpson with a good change.
And I'll go back to that World Games. I remember playing her personally, and I think we took it a bit lightly because we knew she was young. We're not facing Danielle Laurie here. And again, at that elite level, when you take something lightly, they capitalize on that. And she had a great game. And I remember exactly that pitch before this was her changeup. And we scouted that, and it was hard to hit. And she's already improved from seeing her last year, and I'm able to watch her a little more, and she's growing, and that's all you can ask as an athlete, and she's got a bright future.
Well, Canada has some very young pitchers here to go along with Sarah Groenwagen, who has returned after taking a year off of national team play coming out of the Olympics. And Sarah was very dialed in last night in 4 perfect innings against Israel, and will be interesting to see if she gets the ball tomorrow in Canada's first playoff game. And Simpson has looked comfortable in her second appearance of this Canada Cup. And we'll be on our way back this fall to the great program at the University of Tennessee. You can tell she lost grip of that pitch.
Yeah, it just slips away a little bit.
Two balls and 2 strikes to second base player Hitomi Kawabata. Change up. Simpson poised and comes in and shuts the door. Exactly what you want to do defensively and as a pitcher when your team has scored earlier in the inning. It, in many ways, for me, has been the game of the tournament so far, and still a long ways to go on a beautiful Friday with the sun going down under the trees at Softball City. A new pitcher for Japan. 24-year-old Misaki Katsumata. 1-0 in the tournament. She's participated in 3 games here this week. Pitched 9 innings. Given up 1 run, 7 hits, struck out 10, and walked just 1. Her first World Championship came in 2018. She played against you, Amanda Fama, in Chiba, Japan. Not sure if you had a chance to face her. She pitched 11 innings and went 2-0 in that World Championship. Pitched only 2 innings last summer in Japan's silver medal winning finish as they lost in the gold medal game to the United States. But they will trade that for the gold medal game the summer before, each and every day of every week of every month.
And I want to say my first international tournament, which was that World Championship, I faced Wayno. Talk about getting...
Janet Leung flies out. Good at bat, and you've said many times, Amanda, this week, and I'll let you finish the Wayno story. You like aggressive first pitch hitters.
I do. I was one of them, and most of my hits, even as a leadoff hitter, resulted in home runs. I think that's when you get the best pitch. If it's a good pitch, obviously. A lot of coaches or players don't like that because they want a glimpse of the pitch, the speed, kind of what's coming at them one or two times. And so I love aggressive. And sometimes it catches the defense off guard. You know, a lot of people don't like to swing at that first pitch, so it can catch them off guard a few times.
Sumatani and Zoe Hicks.
Watch how she fields this on the side of her body. Not traditional. Usually you get that out in front, but we see that pretty often in the Japan League, and I have no explanation for it. I'm sure they do, but they do that quite often. They kind of get around it like an outfielder.
So 2 quick outs for the new pitcher, Misaki Katsumata. Been around the national team for quite some time. Did not participate in the Olympic Games, was not part of that staff. But as part of this staff, Japan and Canada will face one another, very likely, or potentially, before the end of the weekend, although Triple Crown Colorado will have a big say in whether they meet again with the playoff format. As Canada right now very likely destined, just even a comeback win here, run differential in what would be a 3-way tie at 6-1 if Canada was to pull off a comeback. Canada's not in the best shape in differential. Japan leading the way there because even with a loss by a run tonight, the tiebreaker is what happens between the 3 teams and the runs, however the formula. And some is just straight up runs for and against, other is about defensive runs against. But Japan, certainly any way you slice or dice it, after beating Triple Crown Colorado 7-0 last night, and Canada losing earlier in the tournament 8-0 to Triple Crown. Canada not in a great spot in terms of differential. And really, neither is the other group, but the other group in way better shape. So there is still some importance here. But I'm not going to complicate things anymore, even though I do love formats, formulas, tiebreakers. Erica Polidori almost got nicked with it. Erica, in the game, is 0 for 2. Grounded back to the pitcher and then popped out to Sumatani in her last at-bat. Just a terrific person. Had a great chat with her last year in preparation for this event. And I thought pitchers weren't supposed to handle those. Somebody should tell Misaki Katsumata that. Made a pretty good play, and she retires Canada 1-2-3. The first easy inning for Japan against Canada tonight as they lead by 2 going to the bottom of the 5th. as we discuss a potential three-way tie for top spot, probably better served off than on the air. Japan is not interested in that discussion because they are closing in. They have work to do, and Canada has given them all they can handle and a little bit more tonight. Canada has stranded 8 base runners in this game and have out-hit the Japanese 7-5.
And both teams will be looking at both of those stats because 8 runners left on is not a good number, but out hitting Japan. And great play over there at first.
Zoe Hicks, a diving effort to record the out on Risa Kawamura. As Nicola Simpson has come in for Canada in place of the starter Samantha Ryan, and so far has been able to sit down all 4 Japanese batters that she has faced.
And a lot of the times we see teams play to their opponent's level, Peter, and that's whether you're playing a good team or you're playing a team that is not so good, and that's hard because your team just kind of gets lazy. And I think with the reputation that Japan has in this young Canada roster, I can say that Canada is definitely playing to the caliber of their opponent, and it's really good to see. They're making great plays in the outfield and the infield, diving for balls. They're really setting a tone here for this game.
Haruka Sumatani, who represented Japan in the 2019 U19 World Championships in California, lost to Montana Fouts and Team USA. I cannot believe after the injury that Montana suffered late in the season that she pitched at the College World Series. That was one thing. The other part is she's pitching this week as Sumatani delivers the first hit. She just got her bat out in front of it and flared it into left. So Sumatani has another hit. 7 for 16 now is Haruka Sumatani. The veteran Nodoka Harada playing in center tonight. Played here in the 2017 Canada Cup and was stellar. 12 for 28 6 years ago here. 429 batting average. Had a couple of home runs. Simpson ranges over and makes a good play.
That is a great play. I'm not sure it'd be able to be an out unless Simpson gets over there and fields the ball. The Japanese hitters kind of getting desperate and reaching out of the strike zone, which again is unusual for them. But great play by Simpson getting over there and fielding her position. Or more or less first baseman's position, but that was good communication as well.
No one has delivered more timely hits for Japan than left fielder Haturo Tsukamoto. 3 hits so far in the tournament, and they have all driven in runs. A 2-run double, a grand slam home run against Greece, and tonight drove in a run in the 3-run bottom of the first. And Nicola Simpson, who has given up just the 1 hit to Sumatani, and it wasn't a rocket. She has been impressive. The 20-year-old from Seattle with dual citizenship. Thank you for choosing Canada. Did that come out loud? Probably. Sorry. Hope you're enjoying wherever you might be looking on. It's been an absolute honor and privilege to bring this great event to you in the International Division for a second consecutive year. And I hope it becomes an annual event. To be in this booth, and Emma Ansminger at the hot corner. robs Tsukamoto from another run batted in.
She's even playing 5 feet in front of the base and gets her glove up. Great reactions over there.
That's why she's known as one of the best over there on the planet. Victoria's Emma Ensminger takes a run away from Japan, and Canada will bat in the top of the 6th at the Canada Cup. Well, this great crowd has been treated to a terrific softball game, and we are still undecided as to who the winner might be. Canada 7 hits. They've left 8 runners on base. Japan has 6. They have committed a couple of errors. Scored 3 in the bottom of the first. Kiana Jones missing. And a fine changeup from Katsumata. 10 strikeouts for Misaki in the tournament. And the first 1-2-3 inning for Japan after she entered the game to start the 5th. And back-to-back pull the string from Katsumata. Amanda, I mentioned earlier that against world-class hitting, I'm not sure that you can get good hitters out anymore without that pitch.
It's important to have every pitch at this level now. The changeup is crucial. The rise ball is crucial. Again, and why those balls are so effective, why those pitches are so effective is, especially a changeup, the release point. So from a batter's perspective, if you see 2 different pitches coming at 2 different speeds, but it's released at the same spot, you can't tell the speed of it. And that's why having different speeds and movements is so important, because they're so hard to read. And that's why we see so many so many hitters off balance and leaning forward, is they think that ball's coming in at a different speed.
Well, those 2 change-ups set up the last pitch for the strikeout.
Exactly, and they do that half the time just to set up. Pitches are meant just to be a setup pitch for the next pitch, whether it's a rise ball, a drop curve to get you chasing, or keeping you off balance with your feet.
Callum Pilgrim's been on base twice in the game. She was hit by a pitch and then earned her way on as Canada loaded the bases in back-to-back innings, the 3rd and the 4th, only to score once. And if they cannot come back in this game, this will be one of missed opportunities. However, this is the round robin. To win this event, you need to potentially beat Japan once.
And you want to make it count when you get that opportunity.
But this, regardless of how the last couple innings go, should really help Canada's confidence. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to throw a little cold water on it, but this is not Gato or Ueno that they're facing. These are two. You don't earn a spot in Japan in their group of 4 on the national team if you're not a special player from 43 feet from home plate.
Right, and regardless of the score, Canada has done extremely well, and we kind of saw this with Italy and Australia earlier, is you have to be able to gain momentum, whether it's a good pitcher or a bad pitcher, and make sure you're still providing momentum for yourself and your team leading into the next game or two. And so I think that's what is going to be crucial here for Canada to really recognize, is even though they may lose the game or they are playing Japan, they're hitting very well. And that's something to take away from this game and approach to the playoffs.
Well, if Japan hangs on and wins this game, and even if they were to stumble and lose it, but by a small margin, they would still finish first and headed for a date against the 4th place finisher. That will be determined in our final game of the round robin, when 3-3 Italy plays 2-4 Mexico. This has been a highly entertaining game. And who knows, maybe some drama still left to come. Callum Pilgrim, and that's a fabulous defensive effort by pitcher Katsumata. That ball was hard hit. And the one thing about this infield, it seems no matter how many times they water it down, you'd almost need a flood for this infield. It absorbs water, which is a great thing, because at the right time of the year, it rains a lot here. But that is a hard infield, and there's 2 down as Callum Pilgrim is retired, and the first at-bat of the night for 22-year-old youngster Riley Crane. And Crane has acquitted herself well. She just finished her first year at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, where she hit .220 with 11 runs batted in. Did she go? They're going to ask. No, she did not, according to the third base umpire. So Crane hitting in Larissa Franklin's spot, and Franklin was 2 for 2 tonight, coming off an injury, still trying to get herself truly ready and back to top shape for the upcoming World Cup qualifier, and Crane goes down. Misaki Katsumata has faced 6 and is shut down all 6. She has poured some water on the Canadian hitters since replacing Sakura Miwa. To the top of the 7th we go or the bottom of the 6th, pardon me, in a 3-1 Japanese lead. Bottom of the 6th, and here comes Canadian number 1 pitcher. She's from right here, White Rock, Surrey. No, this is not Sarah. This is a 17-year-old youngster. I was kind of ducking around the pole, It's Ruby Anderson who comes in, which makes more sense to me than it might have made when I thought just for a second. It's funny, if you step back in your chair a little bit, and maybe it's an indication I've been in this chair too long today, but that is 17-year-old Ruby Anderson, who has really acquitted herself well. And she gets her first chance ever against Japan in the bottom of the 6th, trying to give her team a chance in the 7th. And Canada will have a good part of their order batting in that inning. We'll see what they do. Right now it's number 9, Harshman Ensminger, due to hit in the 7th. Wee Nakamizo, and this is going to find the gap off the youngster Anderson, and the wave. Leung, not in time.
That's a great relay from Canada as well, getting the ball in quick. Maybe able to take a deeper angle there, but they get the ball in quick. Leung with a good throw. But again, the Japan players pick up their coaches well, and there's no hesitation in their strides, and was able to get in safe there and put themselves in a good scoring position early on, which we've talked about is so crucial.
So a leadoff triple for Wee Nakamizo. And now Ruby Anderson in her second Canada Cup. Just 17.
And so coming in, even though it's her second Canada Cup, you're facing Japan. There's some nerves coming on. But I've also heard a few times from different pitchers from different national teams that they lock in. And I think that's a special thing about pitchers is their mentality is different than other positions because they're so important, and maybe in their warm-up pitches they're nervous, but they can lock in pretty well.
Minori Naito, deep and gone. Naito to center field. And Japan has likely delivered the knockout punch. It's 5-1, and they're on their way to a perfect 7-0 record. And they're having a lot of fun down the line after the Minori Naito home run, her first of the Canada Cup.
I wonder if that was something special too. I don't speak Japanese, but usually they have a very subtle home run celebration. And I saw some cameras out there, so that was good to see from the Japanese dugout.
Kanakudo as Ruby Anderson comes in. Remember, last August, she was helping her U17 Langford Lightning win the Canadian Championship, had 2 no-hitters during that Canadian Championship, and fast forward to July of 2023, and she's pitching in front of a sellout crowd against powerhouse Japan.
How special for her, but also, again, kind of breaking her in to this elite level. And
Kudo trying to beat the throw, and does. And Japan, 3 straight hits, a triple, a home run, and a double off of 17-year-old youngster Ruby Anderson. We saw this earlier today in the wildest game in many ways of the week. Greece and Triple Crown Colorado, that many of us thought could end very early. Oh, it didn't. Greece led 3-2 going to the bottom of the 6th. They had 2 out, and there was an incredibly controversial play on a runner that looked like at first she was called out, and this is going to find green. Stop sign, and 4 consecutive hits. So not as a player, but collectively, Japan has hit for the cycle in the bottom of the 6th. Tripled, homered, doubled, now singled. Something else you don't see every day. The only thing they didn't do was it in reverse order. So getting back to the game is the Canadian pitching coach, Christian Conrad, out to chat with Ruby Anderson, Nicole Rivet. As there was a very close play. Remember, Greece was 0-6. Triple Crown Colorado, 5-1. Greece had been outscored by 45 runs going into that game. Close play on a steal attempt by, I believe it was Haley Wickoff. Called safe on obstruction. The Greek coach, Tony Foti, played the game under protest. They protest, and on a first to third, catcher Yume Karishi, who just singled off Ruby Anderson, trots down into scoring position. Originally, Team Greece won the protest and would have been up 3-2 and 3 outs away from what would have been one of the great upsets I know I've maybe ever witnessed in this sport at a high level. But after Dave King, the head coach of Triple Crown Colorado, sent in another protest, they gathered again for about 15 or 20 more minutes. They overturned it. The original obstruction call stood. Jalia Lassiter tied it on a run-scoring triple. Triple Crown Colorado would load the bases. Aaron Koffel hit a grand slam. They would score 6. Did Greece go away? No, they didn't. They scored 3 and loaded the bases, but lost 8-5.
That was definitely.
And that's a fair ball. Kawabata. 1 comes home, 2 comes home. And Japan turns a very close, highly entertaining game into 7-1. And they have had a bit of a tendency, not like tonight. There's nobody with 7 hits in a game like Canada has had against Japan, who have given up just 3 runs in the entire competition. And they were under duress all night until Misaki Katsumata entered the game to pitch to start the top of the 5th inning. Canada had left 8 runners on base, and Ruby Anderson, well, that's a tough indoctrination. She'll be fine.
It is Japan. She has to remember that, but that's why the staff does that. Games with Japan can kind of get out of hand, out of control, and coaches see that as opportunities to kind of throw the young ones in there and get some face time and bat time and pitching time against Japan. And it's the right move because you don't want to throw them in there in a clutch situation without any experience. And so, again, Canada has done extremely well tonight. Their bats have been on fire, as they have been the last couple days, and a tough inning for the pitching, but it has to happen, and that's what kind of is tough about this sport, but it's how you come back. Like, hey, I just faced Japan. All right, they did this. They are what they say they are and what we see, but I can beat them, or I can compete with them. So 17 years old, I mean.
She'll have her time.
Yeah.
And again, as we find out, whether you're 17, 57, 32, or anywhere else. Generally, it's how you respond that is the key in anything that doesn't go overly well.
Right, and again, I think with that, it's just, we talk about age, but you just have more experience at an older age. So the younger girls, to get this elite experience at a young age, they're going to really excel from it.
So Japan breaks it open with 5 consecutive hits, 4 runs, and now could end it with another run. Samantha Ryan started the game for Canada, pitched 3 innings, gave up 3 runs on 5 hits, did not strike anyone out, just 1 walk, and actually settled nicely in after a bit of a rough going in the first when all 3 of those runs were scored. And a wild pitch as she re-enters the game. Harshman takes a look, flips, and there is 1 out in the bottom of the 6th. That was well played by Kelsey Harshman, who has 2 more hits tonight and was, I would say, about 8 millimeters or 2.5 inches away from giving Canada the lead with a Grand Slam home run.
Yeah, that was close.
With the bases loaded and 1 out, and the game is over. Wild pitch ends it. And if there was ever a game that the final score does not even begin to tell the story, it's this one. Japan closes out the round robin, a perfect 7-0. They outscore their opponents 60-3, and that wasn't 16, that was 6-0. But for the Canadian women, they should take a lot from this game in a positive way. They stranded 8 runners. They loaded the bases twice. They made 3 outs at home plate early in the game. And then with a young pitcher on in the bottom of the 6th, they scored 5 times. So Japan finishes first, Canada third, Triple Crown Colorado second. So Canada will face Triple Crown Colorado, a team they fell 8-0 to Wednesday afternoon in the round robin, in 1 winner's bracket game tomorrow. Japan now awaits what will occur and take place as they give their traditional bow to the crowd, as is always the case in Japanese national team events. And we should bow to you for the performances you continue to put on as they've returned to this area for the first time since 2017. Japan will play the 4th place finisher, which will either be Italy, maybe Mexico, maybe Israel. The one thing we know about the next game, Amanda, is your country that you represented for many years at the national level. Italy is in the driver's seat. They're 3-3, a win, and they're 4th, and face Japan tomorrow. Well, we will take a needed timeout and be back in probably 20 or 25 minutes with the final game of the round robin. It's 3-3 Italy upcoming against 2-4 Mexico, but we were treated to a great game tonight, and we might see these teams again when it matters even more on the weekend when the playoffs begin. Japan 8, Canada 1. So long for now at the Canada Cup.
For the latest in softball innovation, the website where you can experience the best tournaments in the Americas.
Live games, news, tournaments,
and much, much more. The best quality live softball, on demand so you can watch when you want. Become a Premier member now. SoftballPremierTV.com